this is Pigsy doing another video. So yeah, it's interesting. I probably did predict things because I touched upon so many different topics. Sooner or later you're going to get, if you lay out all the dots and you look at all the connections, you're going to find a plausible path. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I do encounter that I find come true in my own life. That's just like, you know, conclusions, thoughts, or whatever. We just seem to sort of go down certain paths. So the interest is, where are we now, and where are we going to actually go in the future? So one of the key things is AI systems. They seem to be on the rise, and they seem to be possibly the agenda of reducing the population. I'm going to have to look at the Georgia guidestones and what they're laid out to be. And then also we have to look at how big is the Illuminati and all these substructures that are in place. You know, is it just a simple, you know, it's easy to see. And so let's say, for the sake, you get your Soviet interest and they invade a country, which has happened. And why did they do it? And they gave the most strangest answer possible, that because there's a Nazi influence there, which they want to suppress and sort out, and they want to liberate the Ukrainians. And that's the narrative, yet the behaviour doesn't necessarily match the narrative, like taking military points and ports. I think it feels a bit more like there was a bunch of bullies in the playground, and a Russian elite was given an option: you either join our gang, but if you want to join our gang, you've got to show your dedication to us. We need a conflict. We was going to have one with you, but we're going to decide to have a conflict with your neighbour, if that's, or some sort of setup there, where it was saying kind of the ultimatum. Okay, well, I'll give you the conflict, and then they started their own part of the roadmap. What I need to look at is what happened before. So Putin went over to Beijing and met Xi Jinping, and they discussed some global affairs of international. It wasn't there because of just sport interests. There was some sort of agreement. And then you have to look at, who did Xi Jinping meet prior to Putin? Who was he involved with? Because there's like reassurances that are going on, there's some deals, there's a lot of little things that are going on that's just in the background that need to be looked at. And there's some other things and conflicts that are going on in the world. There's some Netherlands stuff, and some other regions are having this green agenda rolling out, with to do with nitrogen and nitrogen use fertilizers that are man-made, saying they're dangerous for the environment. But the other thing is, what is nitrogen oxides used for? What are fertilizers used for that can be when they're weaponized? And it could also be to stop unrest, resistance. If you remove the capacity for people to fight back in certain times that are coming, then you know, you don't want them a way to get into, say, a grain refinery, because they've forced a way into it, and it's reinforced the doors and things like that. So I think there's something to do with what's being banned, what's being controlled. Maybe the prices of what things go up as well. It could be said it's for such and such a reason, and there might actually be, it might have a cover story, but it could be for some other reason. So it's just kind of analyse it. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying anything I'm saying is correct. I'm just saying, let's just look at it. Let's just map it out and see what it looks like, and you know, see if that's a possibility. So I'm beating up a bottle of water in my car as well at the moment. Got ya. something. Yeah, so there's a kind of interest in what's going on. You've also got the US have got the capacity to have a 30-year war because they've got so much ammo. There's these FEMA coffin type things that are going to be used for something. I'll have to look at what reasons they gave for their existence, and they've probably got multiple purposes, but they also can cover some other more scary stuff. You've got China developing these robots that can basically clean the streets of bodies. You can basically just check my mirrors because everybody darts at us somewhere. Yeah, it basically picks them up, processes them. So all you need is a conveyor belt, and then you pick the body up, wrap it in cling film, chuck it in the back, and then what else do you do with that? Harvest it. Take it straight to a plant. Yeah, if you can chill the body as well, then you can harvest it, because it's probably about between 40 to maybe 200,000 pounds the human body's worth. There we go. And also, if you've got things where people are potentially wounded in service, we're going to go. No, we're not going to collide together. I was worried about, because the way my brain's gone a bit of heat. The way the road is, it sort of it ends up chicaning slightly, and it can be misread by drivers. It's quite hot in the UK at the moment, and there's also other things. I mean, maybe it's a timeline map. If you look at the say if you put the information for a computer simulation and it rolled on for 10 years, let's say the global warming increases, fertile regions of the planet, land mass, and then you look at the chance of invasion and chance of war. There's also statistics on how often war happens and stuff like that. I can't tell if this guy wants to come into my space or not. I just don't know where he's going. So that's why I'm not whipping ahead. He's got a red light anyway. I just don't know what he's up to. He's scaring me. So yeah, there's a lot of potential for things to get worse. Possibly they are. The prices of things are going up. Resources are becoming more expensive. And then you can set it up so that people get basically they get aid packages back to them. It goes back to companies to cover costs. They might see Amazon as vital, they might see eBay as a vital service. There might be all sorts of things, because it also models into what the future is for these guys. So you've got an automated society with AI machines. You need to reduce the population because there's too many humans. You may actually, if you're going to start doing cloning and other things, you might use celebrities depending on what they are. You might do some experimenting with different types, because you want this society, you're building this model society, and who has the rights to live in it? Who will be the elite? Will the elite, maybe the option of breeding, because what happens is some of these elite have bred and their offspring are not quite with the program and have had experienced some forms of abuse and stuff, and they ended up into drug addicts and so on. Like Hunter Biden's a cokehead. There's no apologies there. He is. So how trustworthy is he? You put him in a powerful position. I mean, sure, he might actually. My camera's off there. Just get it back in there. He might be a liability at some point. Well, it's kind of time when someone's got an addiction, and you're able to manage it for them, then you can keep them under control. But when they end up doing their own thing, they become a problem. They might disagree with the way the program's rolling out. They might give out information. They might act like a sellout or something. And then where are we? There's definitely elite power structures in place, and you know, even if Illuminati didn't exist, if you give it a name, give it a purpose, they think, well, that's actually a good idea. We could all get together and we could all start controlling the world. And we've got these technology platforms in place, like the internet. People use smartphones. There's all sorts of things that basically can lead to dominance. And so they put all these sanctions in place, so certain technologies off the table, but copies of that technology come forth and exist. It's just rebranded, and it could maybe support a new future infrastructure for a country, but long term it could end up just switching back to old systems, because you can reinvent McDonald's or something, some of these corporate structures, but you're still feeding them similar food with similar food additives, and you're still putting a similar program through. You just rebranded it, that's all. You might have in the background companies saying, well, we can't operate ourselves, but we can act in a shadow sort of form to support, fund, you know, all these other, we end up, our suppliers will sort of work with you, and ultimately when things settle down a bit, either this exists or we're just moved back into the territory. So it's, you know, so kind of this corporate games going on as well. It's this kind of weird, all this weird warfares, like you've got bloody, you've got Tesco's, you've got these little shops opening up all over the place. Not necessarily in Russia, but I'm just saying, you know, there's a corporation. When things are down, they're strong enough to the police pulled up to the side of me. I was thinking, okay, let's just be a bit cool and quiet. Not that there's anything wrong I'm doing, but it could just draw attention. There's no point in drawing too much attention. So also, I guess my message in what I'm saying is be prepared, and you don't have to go crazy, but you know, I was thinking about loading up, getting like cans and stuff like that. So at least I could survive a year if there's a problem, and then I'd have to figure out the next move. It's not so bad at the moment. I've got a job because basically care and support with people will be required until they find a way to get rid of them people, or they replace my job, which will happen eventually with like robots and stuff. I've seen what they can be like. They can manage people, observe them, take information. You know, if you've got a wristband to their vitals and it links up to a machine, if say Mrs. Jones forgets to take her insulin tablets and her blood works out to go a bit strange, it can report that back to GP, and it could be another machine somewhere else. And it's basically the work that's a bit too complicated for the machines to do, that the humans still do. But in time that will get phased out. It's just because the machines learn really quick, basically. they had one that had a car built with cameras. So I saw this on this YouTube video, and it had a driver with it, and the driver was there just to teach the car how to drive. And so the YouTube car started driving, and the driver corrected it, and the machine learned. It took 20 goes for the machine to learn how to drive. As I said, and now it takes 20 goes of corrections to realise it was doing something wrong, or it needs to do like slow down, speed up, you know, basic rules like this. It got a bump in the road, what to do there, you know, these sorts of things. So it only took 20 goes to do that. If you look at some people's jobs, if they're kind of like on a production line, they're easily replaceable because the similar job is conducted all over the world. Something comes off, you pack it, or picking and packing. I mean, they're easily primed for that. You've got things going on with Amazon around these robots. So, you know, it's easily. And then you've got this food. What's going on with food? And another thing I encountered was a bloke's video saying about the downgrading of Russia. They were saying the quality's dropped. So you might have a thing where the prices have changed much, but the actual quality of what you're getting is crap, or it's a lot less. It's got more, oils in it, or they're saying butter had changed. They've probably got synthetic food they're rolling out because everyone's distracted. They're rolling out things in the background. They think they'll be fine. Same for fuel. We might have. I mean, I've noticed at some petrol stations the fuels are better than others. Like BP one seems to be better than some of the other ones I've gone to. So I'm wondering if they're putting additives in the fuel, or they're watering it down a bit. I mean, it's not a massive difference. It's not like cars make any particular noises, but it seems to run better on BP, and that's not like an endorsement. It's just a notice. I was like, it's strange. But it could be the time of day, it could be the engine temperature, it could be other factors in there. So there we go. So as a get into the prepper thing, really, just to set up that's a sort of survival kit, and I'm thinking about getting a hammock. I was thinking about a hammock could be pretty cool, and also a hammock. If you had to leave your profit, you could take your bed with you. So there we go. It's scorching tonight, must admit. There we go. Anyway, speak sign off. Have a great one. Speak to you soon. Bye.